Hey guys, John Elder here from Tkinter.com, and in this video, we're going to continue on creating our Space Invaders game. You can see this is what it's going to look like when we finish it. Very basic Space Invaders game, but it's going to teach you all the functionality to get all this working. If you want to see me build this out into a real game with actual spaceships and bad guys and all kinds of better functionality, check out Tkinter.com, where I've got a course. You can't buy the course, but you can sign up for total membership. Which is like 99 bucks, and that gets you all the courses on tkinter.com. There's over a dozen, so check that out. So that's what we're going to be working on in this video. We're going to continue this. Hopefully we can get all this done in one more video. Maybe not, though. There's a lot left to do. We'll see how it goes and move from there. But before we get started, be sure to grab a totally free PDF copy of my Tkinter Widget Quick Reference Guide book. This thing is awesome, has all the Tkinter widgets and their attributes. You get a totally free PDF copy. Just head over to tkinter.com/widget-book. Enter your email address. I'll send it right out to you. And that's all there is to it. So, okay, back to the code. If we run this space.py, this is where we left off last time. We can move our spaceship back and forth. We've created bullets, but we can't actually fire them yet. So that's what we're going to start to knock out in this video. Check my GitHub repository for this code if you haven't followed along. There should be a link in the pinned comment section below. So check that out. So we've got our fire bullet function, and it creates a bullet. And it appends it to our bullets list, which is up here. So every time we do this, let's just print out real quick our bullets list. Save this, let's run it. I'm just gonna hit the space bar 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And here you see now we've got 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're keeping track of bullets, and we don't really care what's in this list right now, but this is what's happening when we're adding bullets to the list, right? So just sort of keep that in mind. These are important. These will allow us to keep track of the bullets and do things with them later on. So, all right, that's maybe interesting. I don't know. So we'll get rid of that. I'm going to hold off on moving the bullets till later. I want to move the bullets and move the enemies kind of at the same time. Right now, let's create rows of bad guys, enemies, right? So let's define function called create_enemies. And we need rows and columns, right? So we need a bunch of them. So I'm just going to use some for loops. So let's go for I in a range of 5. And this is going to be rows. So we're going to have 5 rows of bad guys. A row is left to right, right? Now we also want for j in range of 8. And this is going to be columns. So we want 8 columns up and down, 5 rows. So I and j, that's just sort of a convention for embedding for loops. You can pick anything you want, but that's just sort of a convention. And so let's create an enemy. For some reason that looks weird. Enemy. Yeah, that's right. And let's canvas.create. And we're also going to create another rectangle. Now, these are going to be squares, but a square is just a, rectangle where all the sides are the same length, right? So we want to spell rectangle, right? Rectangle. There we go. And again, this is going to be the same coordinates of x1, y1, x2, y2. And like I said, you're going to get this pounded into your head, x1, y1, x2, y2 before we're done. So I'm just going to write this out and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So we want 50 plus j times 60. That's our x1. Then we want 50 plus I times 30. That's our y1. We want 80 plus j times 60. That's our x2. And we want 80 plus I times 30. That's our y2. And let's give this a fill of red. So we want the bad guys to be red. So, all right, what is all of this stuff? So, well, obviously this is x1. This is y1. This is x2. And this is y2. But what do all these numbers mean? So let's just map this out. So that is going to be our x1. So it's going to be the left edge of the enemy. So that's going to be 50 offset from left of canvas, right? So we're at the edge of the canvas on the left side. We want to go over 50 plus, well, our j, say j is the column index, right? So the first time we loop through here, this will be a 1, then it'll be a 2, then a 3, then a 4, then a 5, then a 6, then a 7, then an 8, because we have 8 columns. Same thing with our I. The first time we loop through, it'll be 1, then the next time it'll be 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first time we loop through it, it's going to be 1 times 60. Well, that's 60, right? Because in math, the multiplication gets done first and then the addition after it. So it's going to be 60 plus 50. Our x1 position will be over 110, right? The next time, it'll be the column 2, because we looped through it 8 times. So 2 times 60 is 120 plus 50. That's going to be 170. So that's going to bop them over every column, every time we loop through, right, on our x position. Let me just sort of say for that, j times 60, that's the, say, horizontal spacing between bad guys, right? So we keep pushing it over, 60 turns to 120, turns to 180, turns to 200, etc., as we go through all the columns. So, okay, that's the first one, right? The second one, and I know it's a little tedious, but we just sort of have to understand this. That's the second one is y1. So that's the top edge of enemy. We start out again 50 from the top. So 50 offset from top. So 50 plus, and again, I is our, let's just say equals our row index. And I times 30 is the vertical spacing between rows. So we got the first one, we got the second one. The next one is x2. That's basically the same thing as this, only it's the right edge instead of the left edge, right? And then the next one, the last one, this thing, is the same as this thing, only it's the, bottom edge. And there we go. So just like with our bullets, we want to add to our enemy list, right? So let's go enemies.append. We want to append the enemy, this guy right here. Okay. Hopefully that made some sense. I don't know. But let's create our enemies now by calling the create_enemies function. So, okay, let's go ahead and save this and run it. See if that actually does anything. No, misspelled rectangle. See, that's why we run these things. I knew that was misspelled as I was doing it. Something seems wrong. Rectangle. There we go. That's why we run these things, because I make typos. Okay, there we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. They're nice and stacked up next to each other, and everything looks dandy. Okay, so we've got our bad guys, we've got our spaceship, we've got our bullets. Can't see them yet. But now let's start moving stuff. Let's see. Let me copy this and move it back up here by our bullet stuff. Keep all this stuff together. So, okay. Now, let's move our bullets. So I'm going to define a function called move_bullets. And we've got this bullet list. We need to loop through it with all of the bullets that are existing. So let's go for bullet in our bullets list. What do we want to do? Well, we want to move it. So we want to canvas.move. And we use canvas.move somewhere else right here. So we want the thing to move, an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So what do we want to move? Well, we want to move the bullet. And we want it to, the x coordinate to move 0. Because we don't want the bullets to move left and right. We just want them to go straight up, right? So we don't need an x coordinate moving left to right. We need an up and down. What is that? That's our bullet_speed. Now remember, our bullet speed is -15. Negative with canvas means to go up when you're starting at y. So y starts at the bottom, goes up, -15. It will go up 15 every loop, right? We haven't set up the game loop yet. We've got it down here, but that should do the trick. So let me just comment here. 0 is x-axis movement. So our bullet, so it won't move horizontally. And let's say the bullet speed is the y-axis movement. Up is negative. So there we go. So now, as our bullet is moving, we need to make sure it's still on the screen because eventually it might hit the top of the screen and then we need to get rid of it. So let's check to see if bullet reached the top of the screen and remove it. So let's go if canvas.chords. And again, I'm just going to keep doing this. Our coordinates are x1, y1, x2, y2. So if our canvas chords of our bullet of 1th position, so this is the 0th position, this is the 1th position, so our y1, which is the top, if that is less than 0, actually let's do that. And let me say here, 0 is very top of canvas. So if it's less than 0, it's moved past the top of the canvas, right? If that's the case, we need to remove it. So we can go canvas.delete our bullet. We also need to remove it. So canvas.remove bullet. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Next, we want to move enemies. We've got our bad guys. I cannot spell today. Enemies. All right, there we go. We've got our enemies. We want to move them. So let's define, and let's call this move enemies. So we need a global variable. I know a lot of people don't like it. We just got to do it. So enemy underscore direction. And we want to know if we've reached the edge. So let's create a variable called edge reached. And we'll set that to false to begin with. So when we start out, all of our guys are right in the middle. They haven't moved. They're not touching the edge yet. So our edge reach will be false. And we'll see when that becomes true, that will tell us, hey, we hit an edge. That means to go down and start to move back to the other side until it hits the next edge. It'll become true again. We'll move down and start to move, back and forth. So that's how our bad guys will move back and forth on the screen. Let's create a for loop. So let's go for enemy in our enemies list. We want to move enemies horizontally. So first of all, they're going to go back and forth before they go down a row. So let's go canvas.move. And what do we want to move? We want to move our enemy. And remember, we need an X and a Y coordinate first. So our X coordinate is going to be the enemy underscore speed times the enemy underscore direction. Now remember, way back at the beginning, we set the direction to 1. 1 means it's going right. When it hits the wall, we'll swap that to -1, which will mean left. And our enemy speed is 2. That's just an arbitrary number to make it slow. If you want to go faster, put 5 or 10 or 20, and we'll play around with that later to see. So our X coordinate will be whatever speed we're going, and which is 2, and the direction, which will be starting out at 1, I think, right? It's just looking at it. Yeah, it starts out at 1. So it starts out going to the right, right? So that's our X coordinate. Our Y coordinate is going to be 0. We don't want it to move up and down just yet. We're just moving them left and right. So again, that's enemy, X coordinate, and Y coordinate. And I'll just comment here. Let's say if enemy direction is 1, that equals right. -1 equals left. Okay. So here, now we need to create variables of our coordinates. We've been saying these are the coordinates over and over again, but now let's actually map them into variables that we can more easily deal with instead of saying like bullet of 1th position. Let's just create an X1, a Y1, an X2, and a Y2 variable, and we'll set that equal to the canvas.chords of our enemy. So that will map these, right? It'll say, hey, take the X1 coordinate and put it in X1 variable, take the Y1 coordinate, put it in Y1 variable, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So, okay. So let's say get coordinates. Now that we have those coordinates, let's check to see if enemy reached the edge. So these are going to be moving left and right. They start out moving right, and then eventually they'll hit the edge, in which time we want to move them down and then set them back going the opposite direction. But to do that, we need to check to see if they've hit the edge yet. So let's go if x2, because we start out moving right. So x2 is the right edge, right? So if x2 is greater than or equal to 600, because remember, our canvas is 600. So the far right edge is 600. So if our x2, enemy's right edge, is at or greater than 600, it means we've hit the edge, right? Or we can also check the left-hand side too. So if x1 is less than or equal to 0, because the left-hand side starts at 0. There we go. So if either of these are true, then let's change our edge underscore reached to true. Remember, we set this to false at the beginning here. So, okay. Now down here, so if edge is reached, we want to move all enemies down and change direction. If they were moving left, we want them to now move right, and we want them to drop down a level, right? So let's go if edge underscore reached. That's like saying if edge underscore reached equals true. We can just use the shorthand though. So if that is true, then we'll change the enemy direction. Enemy underscore direction. And we can do that just by multiplying equaling by -1. So if it was at 1, 1 times -1 means -1. I will change it to the left. If it was negative, -1 times -1 is a positive 1. I will then move it to a right. So remember, if we're moving 1, we're moving to the right. If we're at -1, we're moving to the left, right? So if this is true, it means we've hit the edge. This will change the direction, right? So now we also need to move enemies down, right? So let's go for enemy in enemies. It's our enemies list, right? We want to move them. So let's go canvas.move, and we want to move the enemy. We want the x coordinate left and right not to change. We want the y coordinate to drop down 20. So this will move them all down 20. We hit that edge. We're good to go. Okay, that looks good. Next, we need to check for collisions. But before we do that, let's do our quick game loop here. So let's create a game loop. So let's define a game underscore loop. And inside of here, we want to move our underscore bullets. Call that function. We also want to move our underscore enemies. Call that function. And we also want to check underscore collisions. We haven't created that yet. Actually, let's do it right now. Let's come up here and define check underscore collisions. And we'll pass for now. So inside of here, we also need to set the game speed. So how fast are the bad guys going to move around? So let's go root.after, and this will create a little timer after thing. And let's create this 50 milliseconds. That's basically, 50 milliseconds, right? And every time 50 milliseconds goes by, we want to run our game loop. So let's say delay 50 milliseconds, right? So this will call game loop, which is this guy right here. Actually, it's this guy right here, and it'll move our bullets. So every 50 milliseconds, our bullets will move, our enemies will move, and we'll check for collisions. We haven't created that function yet. So let's just run this and see. This should actually work a little bit. Let's run this guy. And okay, we've got our guys moving. Something happened there. Oh, something happened there too. You can see the bullets. Something's going wrong there too. So we've got, let's see. I got some things happening here. First off, where are our bullets? Fire bullets. Oh, let's see. We forgot to give them a color. So here's where we're creating the rectangle, and here's all of our coordinates. At the end here, we need to give this a fill equals, let's say yellow. Let's save this and run it. That will hopefully fix that problem. So now, okay. So we had a collision. The whole thing's breaking. And these things are moving weird. We've got obviously an error there. Let's see if we can figure that out real quick. Create enemies. Oh, I probably did something wrong here. Let's see. 50 plus j times 60. That's right. 50 plus I times 30. That's right. This seems 80 plus j times 60. No, that's right. 80 plus I times 30. No, that seems right too. Let's see. Move bullets, canvas.delete, canvas. We don't want canvas. We want bullets.remove. So here, if the bullet is at the very top of the canvas, we want to remove it from our bullets list, which is here. That should fix that, but that shouldn't affect our bad guys. So let's run this again, see what we're getting error-wise. No, that's not right. Man, what is going on there? Okay, so now we're not getting any errors at least. So that looks good. Move enemies got to be a problem down here, right? This looks fine. Put some space there. Edge reach true. That looks good. Oh, this whole thing needs to be lined up with our for loop. It's sloppy. It's sloppy here at the end. All right, so let's save this and run it. That should do the trick. There we go. So that's moving pretty slowly. 50 milliseconds is, kind of slow. We could change this to 5 milliseconds. That's even less. That's going to make the whole thing faster. So if we run this guy again, whoa, we are flying now. Yeah, the bullets move faster. Everything's bad. We're going to stick to 50. But that's how you can speed that up if you want to make it a little more interesting. Okay. So all we have to do now really is check for collisions and then, keep track of the score, which is pretty simple. So let's come up here and let's do our check collisions. So first off, we need to keep track of the score. So I'm just going to create a global score. And now let's go for, first we want to check our bullets. Our bullets are the things that are moving. So let's say for bullet in bullets, we need the coordinates. So let's go bullet underscore chords. We'll set that equal to our canvas.chords of our bullets. And again, this is going to be the same x1, y1, etc., etc. We'll just copy this again. So now we've got our coordinates. We know where our bullets are for every bullet in our bullet list. Now we need to get enemies. So let's go for enemy in our enemies list. We need the chords for that too. So let's go enemy underscore chords. And we'll set that equal to canvas.chords of enemies. Or enemy, because we're looping. There we go. Okay, so we've got our bullets. We know where they're at. We've got their coordinates. We've got our enemies. We know where they're at. Now, we just need to check if the bullet and enemy overlap, right? Just check these coordinates. So to do that, let's go if, and this is going to be complicated, so I'm just going to write it out. Let's go if bullet underscore chords of 2 is greater than enemy underscore chords of 0, and we'll talk about these in a second, and our bullet underscore chords of 0 are less than our enemy underscore chords of 2, and just keep on going here. Let's do it on another line just so it's easier to read. Bullet underscore chords of 3 are greater than enemy underscore chords of 1 and our bullet underscore chords of 1 are less than our enemy underscore chords of 3, then we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to remove bullet and enemy on collision. So to do that, we call canvas.delete. We want to delete that bullet. We call canvas.delete. We want to delete that enemy. And we call bullets.remove. And we remove the bullet from our bullets list. And we remove the enemies.remove the enemy from our enemies list. So here, let's say remove from lists. So, okay. These, you're going to have to work your way through these. I am too bored about all of this code to talk about it, but we already know again what all of these are, right? So I will put it here one more time. Bullet chords of 2 is the 0, 1, 2. That's our x2. And enemy chords of 0, that's x1. So if the right, I need to look. Now I'm confusing myself. Where did I write it out? x1 left, x2 right. If one of the sides of the bullet is greater than one of the sides of the enemy, well, they've touched. Likewise, if one of the sides, the 0 side, the x1, and the enemy 0, 1, 2, so if x1 and x2, if those have touched, and if the x3, so 0, 1, 2, 3, so this is y2, and this is 0, 1, so y2, this is 0, y2, this is y1. If y2 is greater than y1, they've touched, and same thing with the last two. So if any of these two things are greater than or equal to, that means they've touched or passed or whatever. If that happens, we want to delete the bullet and delete the enemy. And we want to remove the bullet and remove the enemy from our lists, right? Phew. So if all of that happens, we also need to update the score, right? So our score is plus equal, let's say 10, whatever. And now let's update our score underscore label. Remember, we got a label at the bottom. So we can .config that and set the text of it to, let's create an F string. Let's say score, and then we'll pass in our score. Now we also need to break out of here. Phew, so let's go ahead and save this and run it. So if I fire, we've got a problem here. Name bullet chords is not bullet cores. Okay, I misspelled something on around that line. Yeah, so bullet underscore chords. There we go. Okay, that's why we do this. All right, so now if we fire, all right. These things are going. Oh, we got an error. Expected 0 and got 4. Not sure what happened there. Let's try it again. Did I just hit the thing too fast? Self.chords.args. So I'm getting an error whenever I hit the spacebar twice. So what's going on there? Yeah, something going on there. Let's see if we can read through this real quick. 872, line 163, line 135. So let's see, 135, bullet chords, canvas.chords.bullets. What was the other one? 165. This should be singular, not plural. Canvas.chords.bullet. Okay, yeah, that should do the trick, hopefully. Those are angry errors. Okay, so now, I can hit a bunch, and we are good to go. I can move. Okay, so now the only thing left is to determine if this guy gets to the bottom before we kill them all, then we die. So we need to keep track of that real quick, and we're going to do that in the game loop. So let's come down here, And let's check if enemies reach the player. Game over, right? So let's go for enemy in enemies list, right? Let's go if canvas dot chords for our enemy in the 30th position, which again, is, where's our list? Pounding this in. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So Y2, that's the bottom of our enemies, right? Let's just say bottom. So if that is greater than or equal to 360, because remember, our whole thing is 400. The height is 400, but our player is 360. So that's 40. So 360. I don't know why I said 40. So if that's greater than or equal to 360, that means it's gotten down to the player, right? So if that happens, the game is over. We could just return and break out of here and the game is over. But before we do that, maybe let's, I don't know, say game over underscore label. Let's just do it in the canvas. So we can do a canvas.create underscore text. And we can put it at 300 by 200 and have the text say game over. And we'll fill that with a white color because it's a black background. And let's give it a font of, let's go Helvetica and like, I don't know, 24, make it nice and big. So, okay. And then this return will just end the game loop, right? So everything just stops. So, okay, let's go ahead and save this and run it. And let's just sit here very patiently while this slowly moves down. I can at least kill one of them, right? I'm going to kill all of these over here. Give me something to do. So you can imagine we've done this using shapes. It's fairly easy to use images. We can create a background, it has space and stuff, create a little spaceship, all that good stuff. And I'll do that in the course at tkinter.com if you're interested. Check that out. Like I said, it's $99 for all the Tkinter courses, and you get all the updates as I create new courses. You get them for free if you're a member, so whatever. So here we go. Last time, boom, game over. Everything is stopped. Our score is 250, and we're good to go. So, whew, that was something. What is this video, like 3 hours long? That's a very long video. I wasn't sure we were going to get through all of it in this video, but we just kept slugging along until we got it. And there we go. So all kinds of cool stuff here. And play around with some of these things. Play around with your player speed, the bullet speed. If you want to make it faster, -50. We'll zip right up then. Enemy speed is 2. We can change this to 20, right? If we change this to 20, oh, there's zipping along. Should have done that last time. We wouldn't have to wait so long. So that's one way to do it. You can change all of the speeds, like I said earlier, by changing our timer loop thing, but that's not the greatest way to do it. I would much rather tinker with each one individually. There we go. This starts the players moving right at the beginning. If you change it to -1, it would change it to left. Who cares? But that's what that does. And we got our bullet list and our enemy list. We're appending and removing as things get hit or added. As we add more bullets, we add more bullets to the bullet list. As the bullets leave the screen or hit an enemy, we remove them from the bullets list. When a bullet hits an enemy, we remove that enemy from the enemy's list. This stuff, X1, Y1, X2, Y2, you're going to remember that. Probably not. But that's it. Some bindings, some canvas stuff, and that's all there is to it. So my name is John Elder from tkinter.com, and I'll see you next time.